Hey, welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. If you have access to the TV show Rafi Tofo, then you no doubt will have seen some pretty interesting horror stories of people who have come out here, or even not actually come out here before meeting a Filipina who has relieved them of great sums of money. So the question that we're looking at for this little chat is how long, when you, let's say that we're not looking at trying to ferret out who is a good woman, always assuming of course that you are a good man. How do you ferret out the good from the bad? Is something that would be a whole other subject. The subject that we're really looking at now is that you've come out here. I presume that you have found someone and you're actually either living with them, cohabiting, or you're about to get, or you're living together and about to get married. How do you trust to be able to have everything open? Now, we recently saw a question that was sent to us by this lady who had lived with a man. There's a lot of reasons why people don't get married in the Philippines, and a lot of it is that women who have had a bad marriage, been left by the husband, and been living apart for often many years, and they cannot easily get an annulment. They don't have divorce here, they have annulment. An annulment is time consuming, it takes a long time, and it's costly. So the average Filipina has to just live with the fact that they're married and separated. In fact, a lot of them have not even gone through the legal separation because it costs money to have an attorney, and they just live with it. So you actually might be living with someone, or you might be waiting for an annulment, or you might be married. The person that I'm referring to now was in quite a bit of a bind because she had lived with and been committed to this man who had died, and she didn't have any of the passwords, none of the codes which would allow her to have money to survive. After a certain period, in almost any country you have what's called common law marriage, and certainly in California, say, after a certain period of time when a woman has been living with a man, then she has entitlements on the finances of that union. Well, here in the Philippines, that particular person did not have the trust of the man that she was living with. Now, I don't know why. Well, perhaps I shouldn't say I don't know why, because it's evident that the man didn't trust. It's evident that his lack of trust was based on his experience, and his experience may well be based on the fact that he had made some very dodgy decisions involving the wrong kind of person for him. And now he'd come into a woman who had committed to him and was devoted to him, but he hadn't taken care to make sure that if anything happened to him, then she was taken care of. For me, I think that you need to make sound judgments up front. Now, I'm not trying to say that I know exactly what I'm doing on this, because I've made terrible judgments on a number of things in the past and paid heavily for them. But it did come to me that there should be basic rules that you have for yourself, for your own protection and for the protection of the person, as I've said in that case, that lady there who was left with no support and no access to money that she actually had every right to. So it's best if you can find someone who is on the same path spiritually as you. Now, you might not think in terms of spiritual, religious, in which case I'm not quite sure how you would progress, because I wonder how anybody doesn't have some interest in their spiritual life. For me, I knew that based on my past experience that I should have someone who actually believes in something, believes in a creator. And even though we spoke a different language at first, Beth and I were actually believers, but we believed in different ways. But I was able to translate the spiritual talk to something that I could understand and agree with in exactly the same way as I'm able to get over any difficulties in understanding and misunderstanding on language. Spirituality is, after all, in a certain kind of language. So I was able to do that. And I think that that's important to do. The question that we wanted to address was how soon or how long would it take before you would be willing to trust this new and wonderful partner, if you've made the right choice, with all of the information about your finances. Now, I know various foreigners who in some cases are completely, totally trusting, and the wife or the girlfriend knows everything, has access to everything, and it works very well. And then there are others who choose to handle the budget, and their wife knows, or girlfriend knows, nothing about that, does not know access to passwords or accounts, and has no call on an account if anything happens to the husband. Well, for my own benefit, I feel that I made the right choice. I feel more committed, and these I feel should be universal feelings and decisions that you have made that would allow you to trust completely. If you feel that the person that you have is strong in spirituality, in integrity, in a sense of right and wrong, has made vows that, in the case of a man, will keep, vows that they will keep and honour, then I don't know why you would not be willing to trust. So I do. For me, I trust. The only thing that you may have trouble with is in deciding how long before that trust becomes complete, until you are together like this. And surely that gets back to watching how that person that you are with behaves, watching how they treat other people, listening to their experiences, and judging what kind of life they led before you met them. So what kind of life was your prospective partner leading before you came along? And that's what you need to be looking at. And it's not my opinion, it makes sense. It makes sense to look at the other person, and if they are totally honest with other people in their dealings from a day-to-day basis, going around the shops, forgetting change, paying bills that they could have gotten away with, being honest when they're given too much change is what I meant to say. Just things like this, just basic honesty. If they're doing that, then they are going to be the same for you, in my opinion. So you need first of all to have made the right decision. It should be based on watching the other person and deciding whether they are honest to the world at large, and if they are, why should they suddenly turn into rip-off artists with you? So if you can see that they are to be trusted generally by everyone else, if they insist that you be honest with other people, that you be truthful, then you will have found someone that you really can trust. And then the passwords are neither here nor there. Of course, you know, there can be accounts where it requires both signatures to make a withdrawal. You can do that, and that may work for some people. Or you can make it so that you have a way of getting money to your partner. I mean, in the case of someone who doesn't want to share their passwords, then the obvious thing to do is to open an account for the partner and have a regular amount go into that account, which is for her or his use alone. And that will be another way to do it. The trust is the best thing, in my opinion, but it is very much dependent on how you view the partner that you have, which takes you into where did you find the partner. Now, if you found the partner, I keep saying this, and some people say it's not fair because people who work in a bar are not necessarily in a bad lifestyle as far as their own spirituality goes, whether they go to church or not. They may have a family to support, there may be very good reasons. I know all of those things, and all of that is true, and it's for you to decide. I would not choose to find a partner in a place where alcohol is served. But that's me. That's just my recommendation. What I found in the Philippines is that I don't frequent, and this makes me a boring old fart, I don't frequent places where alcohol is served, because I notice great changes, and this is based on the fact that I spent some 25 or 30 years as a professional musician working in places where alcohol was the main source of entertainment, and my experiences are not great. I would prefer not to return in any way to that, and so I don't. So you need to be able to make a right decision, then you need to be able to watch, judge, and then decide if you're in it for good. And if you're in it for life, then it's going to have trust. Thanks for looking in. I hope this helps, and bye for now.